was in clothes that I didn't recognize, and I was covered in blood.
Anarchy! I don't even know what that means, but I love it!
I'm wondering whether I might be able to tell you my favourite travel story.
Please.
Seeing as we started our podcast that way, kind of. So, you know when you're like 18 and you're just having like the party time of your life, and it's all about like drinking and fun and zero consequences and life's just good, and like you want to go party somewhere. Like the one place you probably want to go to is like Bali, right? So I traveled to Bali, and this was 5 years ago, back in 2017. So I was about 21 at the time. And I went with 6 of my friends at the time, and we went to this beautiful island called Gili.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard of that one before?
A friend of mine owns like a villa there. Yeah.
It's so paradise. Like the water is like tropical, sea to the bottom. Like it's a dream spot you want to go if you want like paradise. And we had this villa that was like 2-story, looked like a mansion, and we had our private wait staff. So we had staff that would come to this villa, and they would bring you anything you wanted. Like no request was out of the ordinary, because the hospitality in Indonesia is so good. Like they bend over backwards to make you feel like royalty there. So, you know, you got a pocket full of money. Like they treat you like a king, or in my case, like a queen. So, you know, we're ordering like bintangs and mushroom cocktails at one point, and that was one thing I was like,
Mushroom
you know what?
Cocktail?
Yeah, I was like, that's
like
one.
psychedelic mushroom cocktails.
Yes,
Sick.
it's the one thing I decided I didn't want to do though,
Okay.
because if there's any place you don't want to get caught with mushrooms, it's
exactly.
Bali. So I was pretty content just having my bintangs and living my best life, vibing it up. And like life's kind of funny, because, you know, when you're traveling and you think you got it all figured out. I'd been to Bali 8 times previously. So I thought I knew the area really well, spoke a little bit of the language, a little bit of the lingo. And I thought I was like very street smart, very wise. And when I was in Gili, my drink got spiked.
Interesting.
And so, you know, when like you have you know, if there's anyone listening that's ever done drugs in the past, like a trip lasts between like 3, depending on what you take, 3 and like 10 hours, 12 hours max. Because of the paranoia that I was feeling, not knowing where my drink had been spiked.
Your choice,
Wasn't my choice. Like, was it the wait staff? Was it my friends? What was it? How do I like deal with this? I became really paranoid, and I got stuck or like trapped in psychosis. And so I stayed stuck in this trip for 3 days.
Really? What did that, like, could you describe what that felt like?
It was as if your thoughts were involuntarily happening. You had like no control over them, and they all just felt really scary. It was like you thought you were seeing things, but you weren't quite sure if there were things that were actually there. And when I tried to confront my friends to tell them how I was feeling, they were like, "You're fine, you're crazy." And so when you feel like you're going crazy and then someone says you're crazy, it amplifies it, right? And so I didn't know what was going on, and in that state of paranoia, I stopped drinking, I stopped eating, and I couldn't sleep because I was so worried that I was going to get, you know, abducted or like hurt. And of course, that combination of those 3 things made it even worse. And by the end of the trip, these friends that I thought were my friends and that would take care of me when I needed them the most said to me, "Nikki, you're ruining this holiday. You need to leave this villa or we will." And so I just looked at them and I was like, I don't even know who you guys are anymore. Like, do you think I want to feel this way? I want to have fun too. And I said, okay, like take me to a hospital where like I don't feel okay. I don't know what's going on. I think my drink has been spiked. I was dragged there. I was left there with my passport, and I never saw them again, ever. to this day. I haven't seen them since then. And I woke up in a psych ward and I was in clothes that I didn't recognize and I was covered in blood.
Your blood or?
I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you say this was your best holiday? Or?
Yeah. So.
Okay.
You're probably like, what the hell, Nikki?
Yeah.
This is supposed to be your favorite
Is that
travel
your kind
story.
of thing? Like,
The reason why it's my favorite travel story is because after Bali, I took some really hard like lessons that I had to look at in myself.
mm-hmm.
The first one being that if those were the type of people I was hanging out with, what did that say about me?
Mm-hmm.
And I looked in the mirror, literally and symbolically, and saw who I'd become. The partying, the escapism, the unconscious behaviors, and I was really ashamed of who I was. And like I thought I was going to die in Bali. Like I wrote a letter to my dad saying, I'm sorry, I'm such a disappointment, I love you, and like I thought I was going to die. And like that kind of changes someone
Mm-hmm.
when you reassess your whole life and come to terms with the lack of impact you'd created, the unfulfilled desires, the unfulfilled potential, the way you treated people, the way you treated your body, yourself. And like I asked for a second chance. And so after that had happened and, you know, I sort of like prayed to like the higher God or whatever you want to call it for a second chance, and I came back to my body, I was sort of like, okay, like I've got two choices here. And like in life, all we do have is our choices. It's like I can choose to say the same and be a victim of my past and still hang out with these friends and pretend like nothing happened, or I can change my life.